Hi guys, this is Miss Anderson, and this video is going to go over how to write a summary using the 5 W's, okay? And so our objective today is to determine the theme and central idea of a text and then to provide an objective summary, okay? So in class, we have read our novels, okay? And now we are wanting to write a summary after that, okay? And so when we write a summary, we use the 5 W's, okay? The who, what, when, where, and why. And so the novel that I'm going to example, okay, that I'm going to use as a model is the novel that I've read in my middle school. It is a wonderful, funny, short read, okay, for anyone, okay? It is titled Help, I'm Trapped in My Teacher's Body. I have read it many, many times with my middle schoolers, and the themes of it is awesome. It's a short book. It's a funny book, okay? And it has reminders in there of how to treat each other with respect, you know? But anyway, it is in your public library, in your school library, and I have a couple of copies in my classroom, okay? All right, so let's talk about the 5 W's first, okay? Because we know that if we are writing a summary, okay, we are using the 5 W's, all right? And so let's go ahead and go into the first step in the writing process. So we're going to use the writing process for any piece of writing that we're doing, okay? And so the first step in our writing process says that we are going to pre-write. We are going to plan our writing. And that's what this graphic organizer is designed to do. It's designed for you to do your pre-writing after you have finished reading your book, okay? So basically the 5 W's are: what was your book about? Include the genre. Who are the characters in the story? Where and when does the story take place? What is the problem in the story, and what is the resolution? Okay, those last 2 W's are like so is who, what, when, where, why, and how. So those last 2 W's cover the why and the how, all right? And so I'm going to show you. So if you use this, okay, and all of my students this is required. It is required for you to use this graphic organizer. Now, the graphic organizer can be in your composition book, or it can be the paper one like this that you can get in class, okay? But if you are not in my class, if you are a virtual student and you're watching this video, then you can just simply write all of this down in your composition book, okay? The most important part is that you do write it down. You take the time to write out what your book was about. And that way, once you have all of this written out, then you can go in and you can put it all together, okay? And I'm going to show you the final product of my summary of the novel that I just showed you, okay? All right, so step number 2 is to write your draft, okay? So there are a couple of things that you are going to use while you are writing your draft, okay? You are going to use this sentence starter, okay, and transition sheet, all right? So sentence starters help you start your sentences, okay? And you want to read over this entire sheet, okay? Read it, everything on here, okay? Because it has a lot of good things for you to add to your summary to make your sentences sound good, okay? To show a level of writing that you should be showing, you know, demonstrating higher level thinking and writing skills, okay? So you're going to have this next to you as you are writing, okay? As you are drafting. The next thing that you're going to have with you as you are drafting is your proofreading checklist, okay? So this, as you can see, we have to summarize, we have the 5 W's. And we've learned in our writing workshop that when we proofread, we revise as we write. So as you are writing your draft, okay, whether you're writing it on paper or you're typing it on your laptop, you're going to be revising and proofreading as you go. Why? So that when you get to the end, all you have to do is go back, make small and minor changes because you have done a lot of the revising as you have written your draft, okay? Then we have our editing checklist over here that we are going to go back and check our writing with line by line. You're going to make sure that for every name you have in your summary, it has a capital letter. You're going to look for words that have spaces in between them, or two words that should have a space between them. You have to look for those things, okay? All of your paragraphs should be indented. You have to look for those things, okay? And so we're going to do a little proofreading of the example here in just a second, all right? And then you want to make sure that your ideas are there. Your sentences and paragraph flow coherently. Let's see, your sentences are clear and that you have checked your spelling and your grammar. All of those things are in step number 3, okay? So we've already talked about step number 1 in writing your summary is to do your pre-writing using the graphic organizer and the 5 W's. Step number 2 is to write up your draft, okay? Being creative, revising as you go. Then step number 3 and 4 is to go back, proofread it, revise it, and edit it using this checklist right here, okay? And then step number 5 is to, well, before you publish it, before you turn it in, there's a step 4.5, 4.5, okay? So actually, let's go back to 2.5, okay? So after you have finished writing your draft, okay, and you have proofread it and revised it, then you're going to print it out, okay? You're going to either send it to me or print it on the school computer printer, and then you are going to mark it up, okay? You are going to mark up any additional errors that you see on your summary, because a lot of times we can't see those errors on the screen that we can when it's printed out, okay? When it's printed out, you can see the font if it's correct. You can see the line spacing, you can see the indents, you can see punctuation or lack of punctuation. All of those things really stand out when we print it, okay? So in all of your writing, you're going to be submitting your draft, which is marked up, and your final copy, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and look at my summary that I have. Now, here's the summary, okay, and I have it like this because I want to pull up the 5 W's so that we can, I can show you how to proofread, okay? So 5 W's are going to go over here, and then I'm going to put it like that, and I'm going to zoom in on the summary, okay? Right now, I just want to show you that your summary should fit on one single page, okay? Your summary should be no longer than 4 paragraphs. If it's longer than that, then it's not a summary anymore. It's a book. It's an essay, okay? So your summary is going to fit on one page, okay? Another thing about your summary is, and let me go ahead and zoom in, is that you have to change the line spacing a couple of times, okay? You have to change it in your draft, and then you have to change it before you submit it, okay? So let's go ahead and zoom in and I can show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so this is my summary and I'm going to read it out loud to you. And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to proofread and walk you through my proofreading process, okay? All right, so my summary is Help, I'm Trapped in My Teacher's Body. The fictional novel titled Help, I'm Trapped in My Teacher's Body is about a 6th grade student who, through a freakish science experiment, switches bodies with his science teacher. The novel was written in 1993 by Todd Strasser. One of the many themes in the book is humor and appreciation. All throughout the novel, it is funny and comical. To begin, The novel introduces us to sixth grader Jake Sherman and his friends who are bored in their science class and, as a result, start shooting spitballs at their science teacher. While the spitballs were being thrown by Jake and his two friends, only Jake is caught by the teacher. The other characters in the novel besides Jake and his friends are Jake's family and the other teachers at school. The story mostly takes place in Jake's class, at school, and at his home. At school, Jake's science teacher, Mr. Dirksen, only gives lectures to the students and do not do anything fun, so the class is boring. And when Mr. Dirksen catches Jake throwing spitballs, he orders him to carry a heavy box home to his home as punishment. After school, Mr. Dirksen and Jake walk to Mr. Dirksen's house, and as they reach the house, a storm begins. While in the garage, Mr. Dirksen shows Jake an invention that he is building called the Dirksen Intelligent Transfer System. Mr. Dirksen hopes that it will one day have the ability to transfer intelligence from one person to another, which will eliminate the need for education or training. As he finishes explaining his invention, a bolt of lightning strikes the house, knocking Jake and Mr. Dirksen unconscious. When they awake, or when they wake up, I would revise that, when they awake, they realize their minds have switched bodies. That could probably use some revising as well. All right, subsequently, the remainder of the book is a comedy of perspectives from Mr. Dirksen being a sixth grade student and seeing how boring his class is, and Jake seeing things from Mr. Dirksen's perspective and how hard teaching kids can be. By the end of the novel, both Jake and Mr. Dirksen become friends and form a healthy appreciation for what each brings into the classroom. To switch their bodies back, Jake agrees to be a good student from this point, and after they switch back, Mr. Dirksen agrees to make his class more interesting for his students. In conclusion, the novel was funny and important for both students and teachers. Another theme in the novel is respect. Respect in the classroom reminds us that students need to do their best in class and teachers need to do their best to make learning fun. This novel is a reminder that teaching and learning can be fun and exciting if both students and teachers make it so. I recommend every student and teacher read this book. Okay, so there's my summary. So now you should be able to tell me who, what, when, where, and why this book, what happened in this book. Okay, so who? Book is about a sixth grader named Jake Sherman. What happened? Jake Sherman and his science teacher switched bodies. Okay, then Jake became the science teacher and Mr. Dirksen became Jake. Okay, so you can imagine, because that's the whole book. Okay, it's them going about each other's lives, and it's funny as the science teacher is put into this kid's body and this kid is having to be a science teacher. So you can imagine all of the funny stuff that happens in between. Okay, when and where does the story take place? Okay, the book was written in 1993 by Mr. Todd Strasser. Okay, where does the story takes place? Well, in Jake's classroom, at school. There's some minor places like at his home, Mr. Dirksen's garage for a little bit, and then like the football field because Jake plays sports. Okay, what is the problem? Well, the problem in the story is that Jake is bored. Jake and his friends are bored in class, and so they start throwing spitballs at the teacher. Okay, now sorry, I'm getting some real nostalgia here, some memories of spitballs coming back from back in the day. So back when I was in school, and this was elementary and middle school, so long time ago, well, not that long, check yourself. There is such a thing as spitballs, and I don't know if you guys do spit. I think you're probably just gone from that. It's probably very immature for high schoolers to do spitballs, but in elementary, probably in middle school, I've never seen a middle schooler do it. But anyway, so spitballs are where from a straw, okay? You take the wrapping, the white paper of a straw, put it in your mouth, wet it, and turn it into a little ball. And then you blow it through the straw, okay? That's a spitball. But anyway, so the problem in the story is Jake and his friends, this science teacher is just at the board and he's just droning on and on and on. That's what a lecture is. A lecture is when the teacher is just talking, 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 and it is so boring that you're sleeping, okay? And so Jake and his friends, and this was back in the day before they had projectors and teachers had to turn their backs to students, okay? And that's why you don't see teachers do that today. But anyway, so you have to picture the science teacher up at the board and he's going on and his back is turned to the students. So Jake and his friends, being kids, they throw spitballs. And so when the teacher turns around, he didn't catch Jake's two friends, but he caught Jake, okay? And so as punishment, back during that time, it was not uncommon. In fact, it was very common for students to go to teachers' houses and teachers to go to students' houses. In fact, parent conferences, I remember several times, parent conferences, your teacher came to your house and talked to your parents. Your parents would invite them in, ask them, do they want some coffee or tea? And they would have a conversation about you, It's not done that way anymore, Most times parent conferences are done over the phone, but I kind of miss those days. I think students would be a lot more accountable for their work if they knew teachers were coming to their homes, But anyway, so after school, so the other part of the story, the situation is that how Jake and Mr. Dirksen, switched bodies. And so you have to, in your summary, kind of explain what happened, okay? And if you look at my summary, okay, what the transition words that I use, I kind of give you a beginning, a middle, and an end of the book, okay? So the first transition that I use here is to begin. The novel introduces us. So this is the beginning of the book. So in my summary, although this is a summary and I'm capturing the whole book, I'm starting from the beginning of the book. And then when you see me go to after school, so that's continuing in the book. And then you see the transition subsequently. Subsequently means after that, okay? The remainder of the book is a comedy of perspective. So that's the middle of the book. So I'm describing the middle of the book. And then you see me transition here to by the end of the novel, okay? So you can clearly see the beginning, the middle, and the end. And so that's what your summary should have. To begin, the memoir starts off with, okay? Because remember how in The Glass Castle, the memoir starts off with Jeanette as an adult going to a party, and that scene that she talks about of seeing her mother rifling through a dumpster, okay? You can start off your summary that way, okay? And then you have to lead us into why that's important. You know what I mean? That scene was important because it tells us the stark contrast between Jeanette's parents and most of our parents, okay? Most of us, I would dare to say none of us have parents that have rifled through dumpsters, If you have, I'm truly, well, I'm not sorry, but because that's your experience, but I can comfortably say that none of my students in class have had that experience. So Jeanette really, when she started the book that way, she really wanted us to have that image of her parents. She wanted us to start out knowing the type of parents that she had. So we would build up a picture in our minds that these parents were very, very different from your average parents, okay? So kind of explain how the novel begins, and then how does a novel progress, Trevor Noah. So Trevor starts talking about his mom as well. So pull out one of the early events where we get to know his mom. And I think that was the religion, okay? So Trevor introduces his mom to us by showing us how devout his mom was, how religious she was, how church took up the entire day and some days throughout the week, And so Trevor, from a young kid grew up with with religion in his life, and so that sets up the tone for how for how he was raised, and then you can say, as the novel goes on, Trevor shows us experiences as he's growing up, because that's the way that book is going. It's a chronology. In fact, both of those books are chronological, meaning they started, Trevor's go back and forth a little bit between the present and the past, but it's mostly about how he started out, how he going through school, he's maturing now, how his first crush and all of that stuff. And so that's the same with The Glass Castle, even though I think as I make this video, Jeanette is only like 11. But we should still soon probably see her as she starts to grow and mature as well. And so that's the way, that's a sequence, and that's done that way for a purpose. It's done so that you as the reader can follow it. And so now you as the writer, you want to do the same thing. You want to write in a way that you are discussing the book, what happens from the beginning, what happens throughout the book, and then what happens at the end. And that doesn't have to be a lot of detail. Remember, you're only writing down the main ideas. I had to give you how Mr. Dirksen and Jake, the scene inside the garage when they transferred bodies. I had to give you that because you wouldn't have known otherwise how that happened. So if there's something in the book that has to be explained, then yes, you give those details. But if it doesn't have to be explained, then you just use the main ideas, okay? And so now when you see, I've talked about the beginning, the middle, and the end, okay? I still come down here and I put, when I'm ready to wrap up my summary, in conclusion, okay? So in conclusion is different from the end of the novel, okay? That in conclusion is different from by the end of the novel. So in fact, I would like all of my students in class to give me 3 transitions from the beginning, okay? So from the beginning to begin, the novel introduces us. You can use that one, or you can find another one on the transition list, okay? Subsequently, you can use that one or find another one on the list, okay? And then by the end of the novel, you can use that one or find another one on the list, okay? So you're describing what happens, the situation, the problem, and the solution, okay? Once you finish doing that, now you're going to wrap up your summary, okay? And you're going to wrap up your summary by including the theme, okay? What was the lesson? What did you take away from that story, okay? And so in conclusion, the novel was funny and important for both students and teachers, okay? That's me wrapping it up, all right? Another theme from the novel is respect, because I began this summary with a theme, okay? One of the many themes in the book is humor and appreciation. Now I'm adding a final theme, and that is respect. Respect in the classroom reminds us that students need to do their best in class and teachers need to do their best to make learning fun. This novel is a reminder that teaching and learning can be fun. So you're adding just a little bit of your, it's supposed to be an objective summary, but you're just going to add a one-liner that's going to not be too personal, but that's going to explain the theme in your opinion, okay? You don't have to put in my opinion, just explain what respect means, or what love means, or what relationship means, or whatever theme that you pull out from your novel, explain it, okay? And then just wrap it up with, I recommend every student and teacher read this book, okay? Or something else that's going to motivate your reader to wanting to read this book, okay? And then you're done. So once you're finished, now you have the task of going back, and I'm going to make this big picture again so that you can see it. Oh, wait, I was going to show you the difference in the size, okay? So now, once you have finished writing down your ideas, you're still having to revise, okay? I can go back through this summary now and probably find at least 2 lines that need to be revised. Okay, so your writing is never perfect, okay? You want to get it to near perfect, all right? So now let me show you the font, okay? Because I want to make sure that everyone knows about the font. Your page header right here, it can be single spaced, okay? Go up here to paragraph, click on this little guy here, and then your line spacing is single. Please make sure it has 0, 0, and then your line spacing is single. Now, when you go down here to, after you have finished writing it, okay, and you're about ready to print it, okay, just so you can, this is your draft that you're printing, okay, then you want to come up here and you want to set the space at 1.5. Why? Because this puts a little bit more space. You see it puts it on 2 pages as well, okay? This gives you a little bit more space in between to make your proofreading notes, okay? As you go back through the checklist and you go back and check every single line, every single word, capitalization, punctuation, all of that good stuff, you need to have room to make those notes. And remember, you're doing that in a red ink pen, okay? So once you finish, okay, so you proofread it, then you took your revisions, you came back to your document, and now you've made those changes to for the revising and the editing, okay? Then you're going to go back and you're going to highlight your text, okay? And you're going to go back and you're going to change it back to single space before you turn it in, okay? So once you are ready to submit it, then you are going to change it back to single space, okay? Let's get it. There we go, okay? So now, as you can see, it put it all back on one page, okay? And now it's nice and neat, okay? So let's go ahead and wrap up, all right? Okay. We are writing a summary. When we write a summary, we use the writing strategy called the 5 W's. The 5 W's are who, what, when, where, and why. And of course, how. What is the book about? Who are the characters in the book? When and where does the story take place? What is the problem of the story? What is the resolution, and how does the story end? Once we start with once we start with pre-writing, okay, then we answer all of these questions in our pre-writing, in our outline. Then we start our draft, and our draft can be typed or it can be handwritten. As we are drafting, we are revising as we go. We are making sure not to add too much detail, but we need transitions and we need enough of the main idea to understand what the story is about. Make sure you indent your paragraphs. Make sure you use a transition to begin your paragraph, and make sure you use transitions as you are going through your summary. You want to make sure you have your conclusion and wrap it up. You want to make sure that you have all 5 W's when you go back and check it. Once you have finished your draft, you go in and you change all of the text, the line spacing to 1.5. You print it out. You mark it up using the checklist. You go back to your original document and make your revisions and your edits. You check it again. You allow someone else to read it, or you read it to someone. And then once you might even want to print it one more time just to make sure that it looks good. And then once you're satisfied that it is the best writing that you can do, then you're going to submit it. Okay, guys, so that is all. The last thing that I want to talk to you about is the traits of writing. So before I do that, at school, we have some tutorers, okay? And I am asking each and every one of my students go to a tutor and make an appointment. Why? Because the tutorer can help you proofread your writing. The tutorer can help you be able to see if you have included all the elements and if your sentences are clear. If your words need some spice, if your sentences need variety, a tutor will help you do all of those things. Okay, so I am asking my students to go and schedule an appointment with a tutor. Now, traits of writing, okay? So this is what I'm looking for, and these are the things that your writing is going to display, okay? Organization. I will write a clear introduction. I will write my details in order. I will use transitions and a conclusion. All writing needs that. Whether you're writing a summary, a constructed response, or an essay, it needs to have a clear introduction. It needs to have main ideas, transitions, and a conclusion. Ideas. My ideas are clear and make sense. They are interesting. They hook my reader. They include many strong supporting details. My voice. My writing sounds like me. My personality shines through what I write. My voice shows that I care about what I write. And students, we can tell that. Teachers can tell if you are actually putting effort, putting your voice into your writing, because that's what makes us smile. That's what makes it a pleasure to read your writing. Word choice. Choose words carefully. Use pizzazzy words. Spice up your writing. Avoid tired words, okay? And your writing should paint a picture. The one word that is overused by students is the word great. Everything is great. 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 How's school? Great. How's the book? Great. How's this? Great. 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 No, there are many more words besides great to show something is good, okay? Use words that will paint a picture. And how do you do that? You use your 5 senses, okay? Sentence fluency. Sentences begin differently. Use a mix of short and long sentences. Sentences flow using a variety and types of sentences. Go back to my video of types of sentences, okay? In your writing, you should always have short sentences, medium sentences, and long sentences. That helps demonstrate that you are truly a writer, and it gives variety. No one wants to read sentences that are dull and boring. Conventions, okay? Conventions in your writing means you use correct punctuation. You take the time to capitalize, because not capitalizing, not spelling, that's laziness. There's no other word for it, okay? Your nouns, verbs, and adverbs are used correctly, and that comes with as you learn grammar, okay? So we'll work on that in class, all right? Okay, so that is going to wrap up this video, ladies and gentlemen. I am so ready to read your writing, okay? Especially after the novels that we have read in class, all right? Please make sure you follow the steps in this video. Please make sure that you get help. Please feel free to email me, hit me up in Teams with any questions that you have, okay? All right, guys, happy writing. Talk to you soon. Bye.